Here we go. 3, 2, 1.
Boom! And welcome to the Big Honker Podcast, brought to you by Double T British Kennels. I'm Jeff Stanfield with the world-famous Andy Shaver.
Shot out of a cannon this morning.
You were shot out of a cannon?
I got a Zen in my mouth. I'm full of caffeine and nicotine, and I am ready to rock and roll. You're going to be hearing those sounds. I'm jealous of you, Travis. You're going to be hearing the sights and sounds of fall here coming up. Couple weeks.
Real soon, man. I can't believe the off season's over already, and I got to go back to work, man. But I am kind of excited about it. You know, August, I kind of start. I get in that zone, that feel, that I start vibing to it. So I'm ready to go.
It's kind of similar to, I'm assuming, the way it was in your younger years when you played football. Like it's kind of the month where things start happening. You know what I mean?
I mean, Andy, the ball thing never stopped, dude. That was 24/7. But yeah, I mean, there's a big difference in going through like winter training, then spring, and like even like you put the pads on in the spring and you're getting ready for ball, and then summer workouts, and then fall camp starts, which we were still doing 2-a-days then with pads. I don't know what they got them boys on now. I'm sure the NCAA has sanctions on it even tighter these days. But yeah, man, then you start gearing up for the season, and yeah, by fall camp, a couple weeks into that deal, you're tired of hitting your teammate and you want to hit somebody else, So
let me ask.
Yeah, it's kind of.
Let me ask you this, because we had JD Quinn on last fall, and he played tackler guard.
That fella played at Oklahoma, didn't he?
Yeah, OU. He said for 8 seconds he could be the most violent man that you know. How many plays could you play at a college level right now? He says so. I mean, average play in football is 4 seconds, so he's got 2 plays in him.
So he meant 8 seconds total for the whole for his whole year.
He says if you make it to 9 seconds, if you make it to 9 seconds with me,
play are we talking?
You got me.
I was about to say, what kind of play are we talking about, though? Like, is the ball coming right up my ass, or am I on the backside of the play, or what? If I'm on the backside, I can probably just cut the old boy right there or something, But if they're, like, really leaning on me, or if I have to pull or do some kind of sweep, dude, I ain't got one play in me. Them kids would blow my ass up.
What do you think about an ex-SEC guy? Or when you were at A&M, y'all were in the SEC, correct?
We're in the Big 12,
Big 12.
Jeff. I graduated in 08.
Are you excited? Now, I know you hate the Longhorns because you're an Aggie. Are you excited that that rivalry has been renewed? Because I think it's good for football.
Yeah, it's good for football, man. I mean, it's one of the biggest rivalries in the whole country. And to take that away for as long as they did, I think the last time they played that game would have been 2011 because we went to the SEC in 12. And it's about time, man, that is renewed. And that is a special game and a very special atmosphere. It doesn't matter if you're at Kyle Field or at their place in Austin. It's a cool experience. I'm glad those kids are going to get, to play for that again and bring it back for the fans too, man, the old Ags.
You were a starter at A&M, which is a SEC school now. I would guess, just guessing, that you probably would be getting about $150,000 a year to play football in college right now. Why the hell would anybody ever want to leave college early unless you're for sure top fourth round draft picking up in the NFL?
I was about to say there's no way I would do it unless my projection was first round.
Yeah, I mean, stay at school and get paid. Yeah. You see these guys that leave early and then they don't even get drafted. Thought, boy, someone gave you some bad advice.
Yeah, fire your agent.
Yeah, you need to just stay at wherever, if you're at a big school.
Especially like today, if you're in a situation that you don't like, that transfer portal's wide open, buddy. You can go throw your name in that hat and you can go somewhere else.
What was that like when you were playing? Did you have to sit out a year?
Yeah.
So if you wanted to go play for OU, you're missing a year.
Yeah, you had to sit out one full year, one full academic year.
The only kids that ever got a waiver on that up until about, 15 years ago was when the SMU got the death penalty.
Yeah.
Those kids got they could go any school and didn't have to sit out a year because they had a lineman named Dave Richards that played in the NFL. And he got to transfer to another school. And I think Reggie Dupree, I think, was her tailback, and I think he got to transfer. I mean, a couple of guys got to go to different programs that went to the NFL, but that was it. Before, you had to sit out a year. And in the state of Texas, if you transferred high schools, you used to have to stay out. This UIL made you sit out a year.
Still do. unless you get a waiver.
Well, the waivers are easier to come than they used to be, even.
I'm sure.
And I think the transfer portal is killing football, but football is a business, and at the NCAA level, it's the second biggest sporting business outside of the NFL.
Well, what was that one quarterback you talked about him? Didn't he like commit somewhere, to Notre Dame or something, and then went to Michigan or some shit for more money, and just Notre Dame was just out the scholarship?
No. It was the kid that was at Alabama. One of their linemen was from Iowa. Iowa gave him $200,000 or $300,000 to come play football at Iowa. They wrote him a check. He went to Iowa, was there about 3 days, and said, "Screw this, I'm going back to Tuscaloosa," and went back to Tuscaloosa and kept their money, and there ain't nothing they can do about it. So
wow.
They gave him a $200,000 or $300,000. And you know what? I'm going to say good for that kid, because them universities, those poor kids at Iowa are driving around looking for a fucking parking spot right now because they sold 10,000 parking spots and they got 8,000 parking spaces. So good for that kid.
Stick it to the man when you can.
Yep.
It's wild, the money that's getting thrown around, dude. I hear these numbers they're throwing, not just like at quarterbacks, but different skill position kids, even some of the fat boys on the line, and it is wild stuff to me. It really is.
Every kid at SMU that plays basketball or plays football, not gender specific, so if even the girls' basketball program, every one of those kids gets $3,000 a month. Every one of them. And, wow. and there's kids making a whole lot more money than that. There's no doubt. The big stars are getting paid big time. But every kid, the third string center at SMU is getting $36,000 a year, and they can afford it. Good for them. But NCAA's big business. I really believe that if you had a real profit and loss margin in college football outside of the NFL, I bet it's more lucrative than the NBA even.
College football?
Yes, I think so.
Jeff, you know what we were getting paid a month at A&M? You know what our check was, our check every month? I know in 2008, the last year I was there, we were getting $850 a month. $850.
That's still
what was that? Was that like your scholarship? Like how is that?
That was to pay like for your room and board and gas and food and all the other incidentals that just come with day-to-day life. But yeah, man, that didn't include like tuition or books or what have you. Just, your day-to-day stuff. $850.
So you were living off.
It wasn't enough.
You were living off campus, though, right?
So my freshman year, they put us in a place called Traditions. It was directly behind Northgate. And then after that, my grades were good enough I could kind of live wherever I wanted to. They just kind of put the clamps on the kids that maybe weren't doing that great in the classroom or whatever, just to keep a closer eye on them. But no, I never had to stay on campus.
What were the hours like? Because I've heard, you hear from like TikTok and shit, you're up at 5:30 for 7:00 workout or whatever, film, walkthrough, practice, class, another practice, academic advisor, bed, repeat, rinse and repeat.
Yeah, especially during fall camp, man. I mean, it tests your willpower, fall camp does. I mean, they'll mentally break you. I remember, like, they would come and get you. Jeff, we would stay on campus during camp for those, I guess, 3 weeks roughly is how long fall camp would go. We would stay on campus. Buses would come get us just before 5:00 in the morning, ship us to the locker room. And, dude, you're getting in there, putting on wet, nasty shoulder pads. Your cleats are still soaked from your sweat the day before. It's fall camp. There ain't nothing fun about it.
It's hot.
Actually, one of the best days of my life was my senior year at A&M at the very end of my last fall camp practice.
Really?
That shit was finally over.
Just knowing that you were done with it?
No more two-a-days. Yeah.
And you went to a huge, one of the biggest athletic budget universities in the country in Texas A&M. And I know you, I'm going to ask you a dumb question about, and I know the answer to this already. You've read Junction Boys about Bear Bryant, correct? Great book. That was the love of football. That's what a lot of people outside of the state of Texas like football and love football just like we do. But that whole thing kind of was the state of Texas in a nutshell in college football and high school football and what it means to people. And I highly recommend reading it, Junction Boys, the story about Bear Bryant. That's a great book. And talks.
It is a good read,
Was that like in 52 or 53? I can't remember when that took place.
It was in the early 50s. That
It's
is
a
right.
great book, a great story, and the great Jack Pardee was there, and that's a hell of a story. But that's a testament to time about the kids. I don't think the kids. I think today's athlete, not all of them, have lost the connection of what they're doing and the history and how they've gotten to that place. The kids at A&M today have so much better facilities than you did, and so much better facilities than they did back then. And they've forgotten about the foundation layers that built those.
Yeah, Jeff, I remember when I was at A&M under Kyle Field, they still had the old home lockers in there, and those things were trash,
Yep.
dude, compared to what we were using. And I bet now, if I walked into A&M's locker room, I'd look back at what we were sitting in every day and just laugh at it. You know, I've seen pictures of it and the upgrades some kids have. It's incredible. But A&M has the money to flex it, you know, from facilities, what they're offering the kids and the NIL stuff. I mean, all that.
You know what's bad is if you look at your locker room in 2008 in that range, it was probably better than what the Cincinnati Bengals have had up until about 2 years ago.
Did you see what Xavier Worthy said from Texas? He went from University of Texas, and I guess they've got the creme de la creme of everything because their budgets.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sure.
I was talking about going to the Chiefs.
It's shitty.
He goes, well, this is pretty embarrassing.
I mean, the Bengals are practicing underneath an overpass in Cincinnati. I mean, they don't have any indoor facility, and they're in Cincinnati.
Clark Hunt and them.
Really?
Yeah, they have no indoor facility. Every practice they have is underneath the freeway in Cincinnati.
The Chiefs,
you would think the NFL would have like the top of the top everything, facilities for them kids. I mean, for the money that's being brought in, that's mind-boggling to me. I guess it all goes to the contract.
No, the owner,
to the players and stuff.
The owner, Paul Brown, the Brown family's a bunch of tight asses, and they say the Hunt family's the same way.
Really?
They don't spend money on their stuff either. No, and I'm sure there's a lot of greed there.
You'd figure Chiefs, a couple Super Bowl rings.
You look it up,
like you would have. The top of the top.
No, theirs is not up to standards like the Cowboys. Jerry Jones he's too proud of himself.
Yeah,
he'll be 0-18, and that son of a bitch he's gonna look good in the parking lot.
Right.
And I think the Chiefs, they said Worthy was really unimpressed when he got to he was expecting something nicer in Austin, Texas, and it's not. I think the Bengals just built a brand new facility.
I know they're upgrading because I saw Joe Burrow walk into his new locker.
Well, did. They were not happy. The Green Bay Packers are a publicly traded company or publicly owned company, so their financials are public in the public. Well, I think they got a check for $300 million from NFL in profit sharing, and the NFL's not happy. All the other owners that they're getting to see how much money they made. Because now everybody knows, well, hell, these fuckers are getting a check for $300. That's what's funny about the salary cap. Each NFL team's right at the salary cap. They don't worry about that. They get the money back. They know that their salaries are covered.
Oh,
yeah. There ain't an NFL team going out of business. None of them.
No.
But some put more money into their programs like some colleges do, and I think the Cincinnati and Kansas City. The Kansas City one really surprised me.
Yeah,
you figured that they would just really be
taking care of their players.
I'm surprised the Players Association hasn't spoke up for the Cavs on that. Like maybe put some demands out there on these teams, or maybe had like some list of requirements or something. Dude.
Yeah.
Well,
I'm surprised.
The last big CBA thing they did is when they put in the rookie contract.
Guaranteed money
and the ladder, the slots. Well, you got the new guys coming out are pissed, but I don't blame the veterans. And Jamarcus Russell caused that. He made $40 million and never played a snap at first. You got guys that played their whole career, and the money should go to the guys on their second and third contracts. I believe that.
Mm-hmm.
You
know, it's weird. Football was a big part of my life. High school, lived and breathed that Texas football. My attitude towards sports is just really soured since having kids. And I don't know if it's because I'm seeing how the parents are reacting to youth sports, or if I just realize that sports are not as important as I once thought they were. I don't know, man. Like having two young boys, and kind of, this year my oldest is doing tackle football, and I'm like, do 9-year-olds really need to be, banging heads with one another?
No.
I don't think so. I And I don't have kids, all right. But the thing with the parents and bringing the kids up through sports, the thing that gets me is how they try to limit that child to one sport
Right.
and be specific at an early age. Like, hey, my kid's only going to play basketball or football or baseball or softball or what have you. And I think they're doing that kid injustice. I think the best athletes in the country, and, there's a long track record of this, they're multi-sport athletes. They ran track. They played basketball, baseball, football, or whatever. Like, they're just a better, well-rounded athlete by doing that.
Yeah. Yeah. And I don't know, and I mean, if it's important to my kids, it'll be important to me. But I think we rob our kids of a lot of childhood by getting them involved in sports so aggressively at 6, 7, 8 years old. You're robbing your kid of being a young child, because we gotta go to throwing camp, or if you're a lineman, you got to go to lineman camp, or if you're a pitcher or baseball, you got camps and you got to do this and you got to do that. And it's just this year round thing. Like, let these kids develop, make sure that it's important to them too, because I think a lot of kids are getting burned out by their parents just constantly pushing them to be the next Patrick Mahomes or Paul Skeen.
Which they're not going to be.
No.
I wish, like, at every little league field or park or whatever, they had like a sign up for all the parents and be like, hey man, just chill, tap the brakes a little bit. Like, only this percent, if it's 1% or 3% or whatever it is, are going to make it to a D1 school out of high school, or any school, D1, 2, 3, JUCO, what have you. Just sit back, relax, and enjoy this moment.
Yeah. Let them be kids. Let
the
them enjoy
Houston
the game.
Astros ain't out there. They don't have a scout at your little league game. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just let the kids enjoy the sport, because that's why I liked it. It was fun. I had fun doing it.
Fun.
I was not. Maybe that's where Jeff and them were right. Like, I didn't have unrealistic expectations. They facilitated. Like, if I wanted to go to a passing camp because I played quarterback, let's go to OU's camp, go to Hardin Simmons passing camp. We'll help you whatever you want to do, but make sure you want to do it first.
I know.
And even when I was young, dude, my and this is before like a junior high or anything, my parents had me in Little League baseball, and I played basketball at the freaking YMCA, okay? And that stuff had seasons, man. It wasn't all year long. I wasn't getting worn out by that stuff, dude, like these kids are now. Like, the baseball, softball stuff, it's 24/7, man.
I know a guy that's got a kid that's going to never be more than 5'5" tall, and he goes to football. They play summer football year round. I mean, they play summer football from the time school gets out until now. This kid does lineman drills. He goes to this. He goes to camp. They travel. They spend tons of money because his son's going to be the next Aaron Donald. But he's going to be 5'5" maybe, and he has no future in football at all. He'll never get a chance to play college football. He's going to be too small. But you cannot convince a dad. This poor kid has got all these unrealistic expectations about his whole life, and it's not going to happen. And I feel sorry for him. I mean,
but the kid doesn't know that.
No, the kid has no clue at all. But they've instead of just saying, let's go have fun and be really good at it, but let's be honest, you need to work on your grades, because you're going to have to make a living with your brain. It's not going to be your body. But he's not. Yeah. And for everybody out there that says you're robbing that kid, there's not a 5'5" fucking lineman in the NFL. So just check yourself,
No, there is.
And if the motherfucker weighs 300 pounds, he's not going to be a jockey either. So there's just real expectations about some shit, and this kid ain't going to make it. Speaking of concussions, though, and head trauma, since we're talking about youth sports and how stupid it is to play youth football before 12 or 13, have you seen Jonathan Taylor is wearing the
Guardian cap?
The Guardian cap. That, they can wear them in regular season games now. I'm curious to see if it really cuts down concussions, why everybody wouldn't be wearing them.
Right.
I mean, it doesn't make.
They're going to put those caps on during a regular season game.
Jonathan Taylor wore one in the preseason game the other day. He was the only one wearing it.
This is the first year that you can wear those caps in the game. Evidently, it's cut concussions down during practice down by a considerable margin.
I'd make everybody wear them then. It doesn't. I mean, you think about this is how we think of things. There was a time in Major League Baseball where you were a pussy if you wore a fucking helmet.
Right.
There's a time if you was a rodeo guy and you wore a vest or a helmet, you were considered a pussy. Now, looking back, it's like, that's pretty damn smart.
Pretty smart. You got a couple more years out of this sport than you would have otherwise.
So the Guardian caps, I'd put that on everybody.
Yeah. You've talked about this before, but how many concussions did you say that you knew you had?
4 my senior year. My last season.
And that's why you didn't progress and try to go to the NFL.
Missed my last Texas game. Yeah, didn't get to have the shot at playing at the next level. I had 4. That was right at the beginning of all the CTE stuff too. So yeah.
Brett Favre has a new movie coming out called Concussed. I don't know if I want to watch it, having a young kid going down that route. But he talked to a neurologist, and he said, Brett, how many concussions do you think you had? And he was like, there were probably like 4 or 5, like times where I was just out cold on the ground. And he was like, how many times did you get up and your bells were ringing or you were seeing stars? And he was like, oh, fuck, almost every play. He's like, that's a concussion.
Yeah, lost count.
He's like, that's a concussion. That is brain trauma right there. That is your body telling you that your brain has taken a hit by the ringing in the ears and the stars that you see. Like that's a concussion. You don't have to be knocked out for it to be classified as a concussion. So he's like, you had thousands over the course of your career.
Did you see Antonio Brown and some other old receiver were talking about they thought they had CTE? It's like on a podcast.
Antonio Brown does.
They both were laughing at each other.
I was about to say, dude, that would explain a lot with Antonio Brown.
And he's like, yeah, they use the N-word back and forth at each other. Shit, yeah, I know I got CTE. And they were laughing and stuff about it, but it's a legit deal.
Yeah, well, they said, like, if you look at Antonio Brown's behavior pre that big hit and post that big hit, I think it was against Cincinnati where he just got laid out on the fucking 50-yard line for everybody to see. Like that was where he started getting crazy.
Turning point.
Yeah. And it's a nasty hit.
Vontez Burfict hit him?
I think so. But put the Guardian caps on and open up the middle. Let these guys clock them again in the middle.
Yep. All right, we're going to talk some waterfowl hunting since we are technically a waterfowl podcast.
We are.
Sometimes I question myself that. You are... Oh, and for the guy that sent me the nasty message today, yes, this is about profit in a business. That's what we're in the hunting business for. I got one of those messages about y'all are just in it to make money. Yeah, no shit, I don't know if you're an electrician. I bet you have to get paid when you get done working all day long too. You're fixed to go to Canada, and you're taking a 9-week-old puppy with you, which that CTE is starting to show up there a little bit. It's a long ride with the puppy. When do you have to get health papers still to clear it to get across the border? Because I knew you used to have to get health papers and you had like 72 hours or something.
That it was only valid for, right?
So to cross into Canada, to get into Canada with the dog, you only have to have proof of current rabies vaccination.
Okay.
But since I'm bringing a dog that's not old enough to have that, I don't have to show it because a dog... believe I'm right on this. The dog doesn't have to be, or the dog has to be 4 months old to get that shot, the rabies vaccination, which he'll get up in Canada. But to come back into the States, that's where the CDC has implemented all these new rule changes that started on the 1st of August.
What are the changes?
The ones that I know, and I might be missing one or two, okay, but you get on CDC's website and they got like a dog portal, and you go and you got to download this form, and it's basically like a checklist thing. Your dog has to be microchipped, has to have a current rabies vaccination, has to be over the age of 6 months to cross the border to enter the U.S. Okay. What else? Oh, it has to look healthy upon arrival. And I'm not sure if a veterinarian has to sign off on anything or not. I believe they also want a picture of the dog like 10 days or something before you cross. Like it's something like that. But yeah, just some. And this is very, very new. Then there's still a lot of gray area in there, and we're trying to figure it all out as we go. But that's what I understand.
Will your dog be old enough to come back? Like, how old is it now?
Yeah, he will. By the time I cross back into the States, he'll actually be a little over 6 months old.
Okay. Okay. So that makes sense. What about, so now what are we seeing? Alberta is going to what? It's like a 10-day license or something like that? Or was that Saskatchewan?
So for this year, Alberta has implemented something. And when you go to get your license on Alberta Realm, you go to buy your license, okay, and you and I as a non-resident alien, you have two options now. One of which is an unguided license or a guided outfitter license, okay? So like from my end, when I buy the licenses for my guests that come up and hunt with us, I select the guided license or whatever. And they have to hunt with, they're hunting with me, a licensed outfitter, and there's no time limit on it. They could hunt with me. They could book my whole season and hunt from September 1st until whenever. They're good. But for the fellas that are coming up freelancing this year, they're going to get a 6-day license. Okay. They can get that 6-day license 2 times.
Mm-hmm.
So they can hunt a total of 12 days. But one thing that they're doing is they're making you select which WMUs you're going to hunt in during your trip, and they're limiting you to 3. And you have to specifically name them whenever you buy that unguided license.
What if you don't know
and
where
you're
you want
supposed
to
to
hunt?
stay in that allocation, in that WMU, whenever you're up there with your buddies.
But what if you don't know where you're going to hunt? Like, what if you wanted to scout and like, hey, let's just take the best available option? You're just screwed.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, you're supposed to stay in that allocation that you told them whenever you bought the license.
So, Can you hunt private land if you wanted to as a freelance hunter?
Sure. Yeah.
So you could just say, I'm going to.
But you have to stay in that WMU, in that zone.
Okay. So I was.
Those zones are big, Andy. I mean, most of our zones in Alberta, typically, and I'm just speaking about on my side of the province there, but most of them are, about 50 miles long by 50 miles wide. I mean, that's what they are. So, I mean, a pretty good chunk. And if we're just going freelancing and I get 3 of those to hunt in, I mean, that's for 6 days. I mean, that's a pretty good chunk of territory there.
I had WMA in my mind. I thought you had to go to a
No, WMU, right. Wildlife Management Unit. That's what they're called in Alberta.
A zone. I got you. That makes more sense now. I thought it was like a WMA and you had to go to this specific one, and this is the only place that you got to hunt while you were there. You're okay. I got you. So you have a little bit of leeway then.
Yes.
Unless the birds aren't in the zone, and then you're just fucked.
But you saw that email that I forwarded to you the other day, where APOS, which is our governing body there in Alberta over the outfit industry, is basically telling us that, hey, we're going to do this year, but we don't know if that's good enough. I mean, they're talking about like potentially next year in 2025, putting a cap on how many non-resident aliens can hunt in specific zones, and not letting get that 6-day license. You could get it one time, and that's it. Which, dude, let me tell you something, man. I mean, and I look at it from both ways. Okay, so from the guide outfitter perspective, I like it. For now, because if I'm being a little bit greedy or whatever, it's less pressure in the area. Less hunts that get taken away, yada, yada, yada. But from the other side, man, it scares the hell out of me, because I don't know how slippery that slope's going to get, when that snowball starts rolling down the mountain. Where does this end? And how hard do they come at the Americans? And I don't like limiting access to guys that have been coming up there freelancing for years and years and years. And I understand a lot of those guys, just like us, man, a lot of those farmers and landowners that you hunt on, they become your friends, damn near family, and I don't want to take that away from anybody.
Right.
Hold on.
Yeah, and I mean, like, who's to say that it's going to stop where it stops? Like, I mean, there could be potentially a day where they limit the days that you can go with an outfitter.
Yeah, exactly, man. I mean, they already, and I'm just speaking on the province of Alberta, but they already hit us American outfitters harder than they do the local guy that has an outfit there. Like, what I have to pay to renew my outfitter permit is much more than what that Albertan or the Canadian resident has to pay for his license. Because the Canadians, man, they're going to protect their people.
Right, which makes sense.
And they're trying to keep the opportunity high for them, which I get that. I just hope here in 10, 15, 20 years, I can still go up there and work. I don't know.
What do you, honestly, because I've talked about this a lot, honestly, do you think 10 years from now, they're going to let Americans come up there to hunt?
I don't know, Jeff. I don't know what the end game is. That's what I'm talking about. All this all this stuff that's starting to happen now, with Manitoba going to that lottery last year, and Alberta now have these 6-day licenses and limiting you to 3 WMUs, and then talking about tightening up the restriction even more next year. What the end game is, I don't know, man.
Yeah,
I have no idea. I hope I can. I'd like to be in this for a little bit longer, and I love going north of that border in the fall, man. There's no other place I'd rather be in September and October, but I guess we'll find out, man.
I think the future's pretty bleak for hunting in Canada for an American. Now, I think that the guys that are doing it on their own, I think they're big time screwed. And I think it's coming pretty fast for them, a lot faster than a lot of them don't want to admit, but I really believe that. I believe that you're going to come into a Canada deal is going to be about like Mexico. You're going to have to go to a guy like you and hunt with an outfitter. He's going to have guns. He's going to have ammo. And that's what you're going to do. You're not going to be able to bring guns back and forth. And this ain't just waterfowl. If I was the guys that was the big game hunters, I really don't think they're going to start letting you bring rifles across either. It's a liberal country. But it's like everything else. Yeah. They're ran by a couple of big cities. Toronto, Montreal, and Vancouver and Calgary run their whole country because they just don't have enough people outside of that. And there's not a lot of real Canadians left anymore. When you go there, it doesn't look like you're in Canada. It looks like you're in Pakistan, or when you go to the big cities or Bangladesh or India, it does not look like what you would expect Canada to look like 60, 70 years ago. And
no, that's right, man. I spend most of my time out there in rural Canada, and that has lots of Canadians in it. But I'll tell you something, this year, my girlfriend and I, we flew into Calgary, and I took a firearms class there so I could get my PAL card. And anyway, after I was done with that, we went to Banff for a few days, okay? Took the picture with Lake Louise. We hiked up to the tea house everybody goes to, did the whole deal, all right? Jeff, her and I, we were the minority while we were there.
Yes.
My eyes were open to some stuff out that way.
Yeah, me and Andy were in Calgary last year, and I was looking around, I thought, and it was beautiful. Weather was beautiful. And I told Andy, I said, Jesus Christ, I said, I'm telling you right, if Canada ever goes to battle and they got to go pull some Canadians to fight for their country, they are screwed big time because there ain't nobody from Canada here anymore. And it was everywhere it's that way. But when you go to the small towns, it's like being in small town West Texas.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure.
But those big cities are just not indoctrinated. What's the word I'm looking for?
Inundated.
Inundated with people that aren't Canadian, that aren't natural Canadians, and so they don't have any kind of semblance to Canadian pride, which is happening in America in a lot of places. Minneapolis is one, but that really hurts us. But I was really surprised. I've never been to Banff. Is it as beautiful as they say it is?
It is pretty, Jeff. I mean, dude, it looks like a postcard everywhere you look, man. I mean, that's the best way for me to describe it. I've never been in a place like that. It's beautiful. I would most definitely go back. We were there for 4 days. I didn't think it was long enough. You don't get to see hardly anything. We hiked every day. Banff is a cool spot. It's touristy, obviously, and we probably did all the touristy stuff on our first go round. But I would definitely go back, man. It's a great spot.
Is it like a national park or what is it?
There is a big national park all through there. I mean, you can hike trails for days, dude.
Where did you stay? Did they have like hotels and shit there?
We stayed in Banff.
You did?
Yeah, we stayed in the town of Banff. Yeah.
What about like restaurants and shit? Good food there? Or was it kind of touristy?
There is some good food in Canada. Let me tell you something, dude. I love my Canadian people. Yeah. If any of them are listening to this deal right here, I love them. But their food is suspect at best, all right? But in Banff, man, I was pleasantly surprised at the level of restaurant they had there. It was probably the best food I've ever had in Canada. And they had a lot of nice restaurants.
And you're screwed because you live in South Texas. The food, you got fresh seafood. I mean, you got steak if you want. You got the Texas.
I'm a hop, skip, and a jump from Louisiana.
Right.
I mean,
right.
Yeah,
and now you're going to a place that salt is scarcely used on some of their food.
Bro, I bring a case of Tony Chachere's with me just to kick that food up a notch whenever I go up there.
Yeah, there's been not very many meals I can remember from my time in Canada that we've gone out to eat, and I've been like, this is a good fucking place. This is a good restaurant.
No, I tell people all the time, it's like, hey man, how many Canadian food restaurants you ever seen in your travels?
Right.
Yeah, you don't.
No, but then you go to like, somebody had you over for dinner and you're like, yeah, this is good, but the restaurants are no indication on quality restaurants in Canada.
Oof.
Salt is, like I said, let's put a little bit of salt on this thing. How about that? Let's put some seasoning here.
Yeah, put a touch of seasoning on there. I don't care if it's just black pepper and salt. Just use some. Oh, and I would also like some ice in my drinks too, man. Like let's get that going.
What did he say, Andy? He wants what on his drink?
Ice.
Andy,
ice in my drinks, Jeff. They don't put ice in your drinks, dude. Like you got to ask.
Don't trust me. Jeff's not afraid to ask.
I catch all kinds of shit because I guess I say ice the same way some people say ass.
Ass. Can I get some ass in my drink? We were in Mexico, and Jeff's like, "Can I get some ass in my drink?" And the little Mexican waitress was like, "You want what now? Some ass? What?"
It's like, hey man, you're at the wrong place. If you're in Mexico, you can go right down the street right here. They might be able to.
They'll put whatever you want in your drink.
If I drink, other than me drinking hot tea, I drink everything I have ice. I fill the cup up with ice and I put drink in it. I like ice. And when I go to Canada, it wears me the frick out.
Or Mexico.
Mexico, everything it's so hot, and so I get an extra cup of ice. I even put ice, salt, lime juice, and salt around the lemon. I pour beer over it. That's why I like drinking my beer, a chelada. And but we were in a little town. I think we were in we were somewhere in a little town in Canada. And we went to an A&W root beer, and we got cheese curds and a root beer, and they gave me a glass with no fucking ice in it. I go, do you have any ice? Oh, we don't have ice here. You got to be shitting me.
Did you leave him a bad review on you?
No, I don't review anybody, but I ain't ever been back to that A&W root beer since then. But I was like, you don't have ice? No.
It's cold here. We don't need it.
Yeah. I was like, okay. But that's one of the things I crave. But I've always wanted to go to Banff. I've never been there, and that's one place I would like to go.
Pretty place.
I've always heard it's absolutely beautiful, and so I want that's on my bucket list of a couple places. There's a few places left.
So one thing about Banff, Jeff, like that Lake Louise that like everybody goes and sees and takes a picture behind. The lake is beautiful, a deep turquoise blue. Really hard to describe unless you're sitting there looking at it. But when I know that it's a huge tourist place, that spot. But Amber, my girlfriend, and I, we got there early, man, not long after daybreak, which up there in the summer is early as hell. And there wasn't 4 or 5 people at the lake with us. I mean, we pretty much had it to ourselves for about an hour. So then we hike up to that tea house, which is like 7,000 feet up there. Okay. So we hike up there, and by the time we come down, dude, I don't know how many people are at that lake, but it's like shoulder to shoulder. People taking selfies, making TikTok videos. I mean, doing whatever they're doing. But the floodgates had opened by the time we got back down that mountain.
Did you see a bunch of bears?
We never saw one, man. Oh, and they, you can't have a pistol up there, right? I mean, that's a big no-no in Canada. But, hey, man, you can go buy this $50 bottle of bear spray right here. And don't you worry. That's going to protect you from that hard-charging grizzly, okay? So we there was one trail we hiked, and I can't remember the name of it. But we broke the rule. Don't tell anybody. But at the sign at the head of the trail, it said you have to travel in groups of 4. Because of grizzly. Well, there wasn't like hardly anybody there, so Amber and I just went down the trail by ourselves. But you kind of look over your shoulder from time to time. I mean, there was some places on that one especially. It's like, oh yeah, I saw this in National Geographic one time. Yeah.
That is why I'm always going to reserve the spot for Bigfoot. You can't tell me. I know we got game cameras everywhere, but some of that shit is so dense. There could be a Bigfoot. I'll leave a small margin. A small percentage.
No Rougarou.
For a Bigfoot up there or anywhere. We went to Maine this last year, and like, you're telling me that in all that vegetation and all that tree shit, you don't have any possibility of a Bigfoot out there? Jeff says no, but
I'm not saying no. I just think with today's modern, everybody's got game cams and shit. Someone would have every picture you see from a Bigfoot person.
I'm not going to debate that. I know the evidence is suspect.
They're blurry as hell.
Yep,
You can't tell what it is.
The evidence is suspect. I will grant you that.
We had a guy on here that was a Bigfoot guy, and he's seen them all the time, and he did this and that, and he sent Andy some pictures. Boy, them people right there said that's pretty good evidence right there. It looked like a fat chick being blurred out on an old porno that they had on cable back in the 80s where they did the digital enhancement behind a tree or some shit. You couldn't see nothing. It don't look like no damn Bigfoot.
The Bigfoot experts are what kill all credibility, because we had another guy on. His neighbor lady that she has green apple trees. Well, she sees Bigfoot there every day of the week to pick green apples. And we asked him. First question was, have you ever seen a Bigfoot? No, but my neighbor lady, who I'm really good friends with, they come and get her green apples. And it's like, do you want to see a Bigfoot? And he's like, man, I'm dying to see a Bigfoot. Go to your neighbor lady's house at the time that she says she sees Bigfoots picking her green apples, and you will see a Bigfoot.
Yeah.
Like, it's fucking that simple.
Some bitch might even bake you a pie.
You know what I mean? Like, if they're there that frequently, like, I would just spend a week at your neighbor lady's house, and you'll see one.
And then
was neighbor lady eating them apples along with Bigfoot? Man, there might be something special in them apples.
Right, I guess. But so that kills Bigfoot credibility. The eyewitnesses kill it, their testimony, and the shitty pictures that they always get.
And then I said, you've never seen one? I thought I did one time. It was on a riverbed. It was on a sandbar. I said, well, when you went back, was he still there? I never went back and looked. If you love to see a Bigfoot, if I see a Canada goose with a band on it, I stop and drive back and take a look at it. Or if I see
take a picture of it if you can, call your buddies. I mean, whatever.
Yeah. If I see a bird, if I see a dead goose, if I'm driving in the middle of Boston at Boston Commons and there's a dead Canada goose on the side of the deal, I'm going to go back and buy and look and check its leg just because I just can't help it. I'm going to do that. It's going to happen. So you're telling me you're all consumed with the Bigfoot? You're not going to stop and go back on that bridge and look and see if it's Bigfoot on the sandbar? It just
maybe you had to take a shit.
They're just I don't know about them, but I don't understand. I don't understand the bear deal, because here's the difference, Travis. I'm not a fleet of foot as you are.
I just got to be faster than you. That's like what I told Amber. I know I'm faster than her, so she's screwed. I'll be all right.
I'm looking at the crowd. I'm doing crowd dealing. If they're not having a hot dog eating contest with a bunch of fat people, I'm not going to be the slowest guy in the group. So, and if I'm in bear territory, that's what I'm worried about. And
if a young kid throw a leg out.
Fuck yeah! If I'd have seen that sign, you got to be in a group of. What are 4 people going to do? A grizzly bear can eat all 4 of you. I mean,
maybe it's
I mean, all that takes is one swipe of the paw, and you're done, man.
That's.
Maybe it's a big enough deterrent. Maybe the bears have figured out how to count to 4 and like, oh, can't fuck with that group. There's 4 of them.
That's like the dumbasses in Yellowstone that want to fuck with the buffaloes. Or the grizzlies. I saw a grizzly the other day with their cubs out, and these guys are getting out of their car and they're taking all these pictures, and they're like 20 yards away. And I thought, that's when you're cheating death and you don't even know it there.
They don't have any clue how fast that grizzly mama can cover that 20 yards. They think 20 yards is a comfortable distance, but like that bitch will be on you before you turn around.
A grizzly bear can outrun a quarter horse.
Right.
I mean, you think about that in a race, they can outrun a quarter horse. Yeah, they're going to get your ass pretty fast.
Pretty scary.
Yeah. Tyreek Hill couldn't outrun a grizzly bear.
Mm-mm. No, but he can outrun you, so.
But
it's okay, Jeff. We got that bear spray, man.
You're good. Yeah, shoot that off in the air as you're running away.
And Trudeau's probably making $10 a can profit himself off each one of them. They make everybody buy at that place.
Yeah, they're killing it, dude, for sure. And when we left, I just gave it to some random dude on the street, man. When I was walking out of the hotel, they were like just getting the Banff, and we were leaving, going to catch a flight out. And I was like, here you go, man. I just saved you $50.
You know,
don't get 8.
Don't get 8.
I think when I was in Yellowstone, I had a pistol with me, which probably was against the rules.
Probably.
But anywhere in the U.S. I go, I usually take a gun with me unless it's flying both ways. Then I can't do it. But if I can, and I've never put a pistol in my luggage on a plane. I guess you can do that and check it in as a check bag.
No, it depends on where you're going.
If you're flying domestic in the U.S.
Yeah, you could. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I know you can. I just don't know.
I don't know if you have to declare that. I would imagine you have to declare it or something.
Yeah, you got to take it to the check-in counter, and they're going to make sure it's in a locked case and empty. And I don't know the literature on this a lot, but I don't think that maybe ammunition and guns can't be stored in the same case or whatever. But yeah, you can fly with it domestically as long as you're I guess, okay to do it, and you're going to a place that allows it. You can't in Vegas. You can't fly with it to Vegas, I don't think.
You can't fly with it to Vegas? Why?
Not if you're landing in Vegas, because I don't think Vegas allows you to. I don't know. Anyway, just you got to check before you go. What's the wildest bird that you've killed in your time? Let's say Canada and in the U.S. because you've hunted fucking a lot. What's the craziest bird that you've killed?
Wildest bird I've ever, just like
hybrid,
as far as an oddball goes.
Oddball.
I mean, and you're seeing more hybridization every single year between the specks and the snows. That used to be like a rare thing. I remember the first one we ever shot. I was actually in Alberta. And that would have been, I don't think it was our first year on our own. I think it was the next year, 2014. I shot one. It was a big deal, man. Like, you'll see that oddball whenever you're working a group or something. It sticks out like a sore thumb, but I never had a chance at one. Well, we finally whacked one. And big deal. And then every year after that, it seems like it wasn't that uncommon anymore. I mean, I see them more and more every year when I scout. I bet in Alberta last year we killed 2 or 3 crosses, and in Arkansas, I know we shot at least that many.
Oh, wow.
Between the specks and the snows. I've killed a couple mule ducks in Alberta, a mallard pintail cross or whatever, that a couple times. Normally that happens real early in the season though. And, the duck, they're all drab in color, whatever, just coming out of mold. But we shot a brant in Alberta. That was in 2018, came in all by itself. We shot a snow last year that had a tarsal band in Alberta. That's the first one I'd ever seen on the snow. When I worked for Ward, I saw a couple tarsals on the graders or whatever, Greater Canadas. But yeah, man. In Arkansas, I mean, we're hunting specks and snows there for the most part, so it's crosses on them.
Yeah. I know this will never happen in my lifetime, but I'd like to get a Russian band. I think that would be really cool.
Someone shot a Russian pintail out here years ago.
Out here? Mm-hmm. So it's a possibility.
Yeah, it's probably Justin Hill, that lucky little fucker. Everything else he shoots is banded.
Yeah.
I shot a Russian snow goose in Saskatchewan.
Oh, you did?
A Wrangell Island bird. Yep.
I'll tell you the weirdest bird I've ever seen in my life, and I saw it one time, and I still remember exactly where it was. I saw an emperor goose here one time, probably right around year 2000, maybe year 2000, 2001, 2. I saw an emperor goose. It's the first time I've ever seen one of those. I've seen a lot of birds, a lot of crosses and shit, but I saw an emperor, and it was right up by the road. Right by the road. I mean,
an emperor goose, is that like the sea goose?
The one that's
they draw for in Alaska?
Yeah, the ones that they only shoot like so many a year, and everybody goes up there to shoot one. Yeah. What's the guy's name up there that does all them?
It looks like a snow Canada cross with speckle belly feet.
Yeah, is exactly what it looks like.
Snow head, Canada body, speckle belly, orange feet.
That is a very difficult tag to get, man.
Yeah, there's a guy that specializes in them, and I think they kill them on Kodiak Island.
And I'm sure the weather conditions are just miserable to shoot this fucking thing.
Are not good.
It's a terrible deal. Kay Tricky was telling us when they went up there and they eat a lot of brant.
Yeah.
They had barbecued brant. They had brant pizza, brant sandwiches, brant soup, brant chili. That's all they had was brant the whole time. I
didn't know how far down that list you're going to go. You're about to pull a Bubba Gump.
They went about that far down there. But I think they were they was on Kodiak Island because it's where they do the crab deal. I'm like, I've been trying to eat some crabs. I've been doing.
Right. Catch one of those boats.
Dutch Harbor, I think, is where they're out of.
I don't know how good them sea geese would taste, them brand or whatever. I don't know.
No,
I've been awful hungry in my life. And when you're hungry, food don't taste bad. Me and my dad stopped at a chicken joint in the middle of East Texas one time, coming home about 9 o'clock at night. And it was, towns didn't have allsups or nothing. And we're starving. I'd been with my dad and Jim Swan training dogs all day. And we stopped, and there was a place that said chicken. It was like 9 o'clock, and they closed at 10. We got in there, and we got us a bucket of chicken when you sold a bucket. And we ate that first piece of chicken driving down the road, and I told Dad, I said, "It's the best fried chicken I've ever had in my life." Halfway through the second piece of chicken, I threw that some bitch out the window, and we didn't eat. We threw the whole bucket out about 2 minutes after that. It's the worst chicken I've ever had in my entire life. But that first piece tasted so damn good because I was hungry. So,
the best seasoning on any food, man, is hunger.
yes.
That's it. It makes it a whole taste good. Hey, you said Allsup's, Jeff. I got to ask you something because I know everybody out in West Texas just thinks Allsup's is the best thing ever. But what is y'all's go-to? What do they have, like fried burritos or tacos or something?
Yeah,
like
gut bombs.
If you had to pick one, which one are you getting?
Just the bean burrito is my favorite one. Just the regular. My wife likes chimmies. My favorite thing at Allsup's, they don't hardly sell anymore, is they used to have chilerianos. And they were so good because had a light dusting on them, and they were as good as chilerianos I'd have anywhere. But it was just Allsup's had them. They don't have them anymore.
Now, let me tell you, going back to Allsup's, it is emergency food only. It is, I don't have time.
You're so full of shit. You and your family, your wife told me the other day about once every 6 months, y'all will do Allsup's burritos for supper at the house.
Because none of us want to cook.
Because
emergency food.
Yes.
You're in a bind and it's like, I don't want pizza. I don't want a burger. Let's just go to the gas station, load up on burritos, and that's dinner.
And me and
no, she was wrong. It's about once every 6 months.
I said every 6 months.
Oh, I thought you said 6 weeks.
No, every 6 months. Michelle's the same way. If Michelle's sick
emergency
and she doesn't feel good, and it's like she hasn't eaten for 2 or 3, I mean, like sick with the flu or something, when she gets done, she'll crave a Allsup's burrito. I very seldom, I have maybe 4 a year. I don't eat them very often, but I like them. And the sauce, I was about to say, I don't know how y'all
crave them things. I've stopped in a couple, 3 Allsup's before, and I've tried a handful of them fried taco burrito deals, and dude, you can have them. I wasn't a fan.
It depends on, you got to get there at the right time, but they make flautas. It's like kind of like a tortilla roll, fried tortilla rolled up. Yeah, it's like a crispy chicken and cheese in it. Okay. Those are good. They're called flautas at Allsup's. Their kettle wings are really good. It's like kind of like fried buffalo wings. Those are they're hard to find. Like I said, it's kind of like seeing a unicorn out in the wild. Whenever they've got the kettle wings out there, those are always a go-to. I will have the kettle wings over the burritos if they're in the window, but it is emergency food only.
What was it Blake and y'all got on to scouting last year? Was it Buffalo? Was that what it was?
We don't go to Allsup's when we scout.
But Penman's we go to. But Blake started eating some kind of buffalo wings last year.
I was like, no, it's just buffalo bites.
But y'all ate the shit out of them last year.
Oh, yeah.
Every day at 4 o'clock.
But that's what it is. It's like scouting food. It's emergency food only.
That's just it. Yeah.
But we don't go to Allsup's that often. I mean, very, very seldom. But maybe, like I said, every 6 months. And don't let Andy be a hypocrite about shit and say
I'm not being a hypocrite
because his wife told me. And coming back from Delta the other day at Baton Rouge, I had to get gas, and we stopped in some little podunk town off the interstate around Alexandria, and it was a Cajun convenience store.
Yeah,
my wife and my kids made my American Express card catch on fire. They bought so much shit. They bought boudin egg rolls. They bought burritos. They bought Crispitos.
Boudin balls.
They bought crawfish meat pies.
Yeah, crawfish pie.
Yeah, they had all kinds of shit. Boy, Michelle was in hog heaven. We could have went to the fanciest place in New Orleans to eat, or we could eat at a damn convenience store in the swamp, and they would have chosen the swamp convenience store. I'm telling you.
Good food.
I was about to say, dude, you can find some good stuff at them hole-in-the-wall stops in Louisiana, man.
100%.
You really can.
A couple miles off of the interstate, it was delicious.
Pickled bear balls. They had all kinds of crap in there. Hey, gar balls.
Bear balls.
I don't know what all they had. They had all kinds of shit. But
I'm out on bear balls.
The shit I would have never thought about eating, they were getting a snapping turtle pie. Yeah, give us one of those too and get this.
Send it. What do you think is going to happen with the conservation order? Texas has already said no more. Do you think that's going to be
Texas dropped it. You know, my home state dropped it. I know South Dakota was kind of putting some feelers out, you know, to the public. Hey, what do y'all think about this, that, and the other? And I don't think there were too many people for it. I don't know what's going to happen.
It's catching a lot of wind right now, though, about doing all 50 states.
Especially with Texas dropping it. I think Texas was the big domino.
But yeah, I think, and that opened a lot of people's eyes that, you know, that conservation order, that's a state mandated thing. You know, each state has the choice to, you know, carry on with that deal or to drop it. Now, where I work in the winter, if they drop that conservation order, man, there would be a lot of sad people, and I would not be one of them. I don't care. That is my least favorite time of the entire season. Okay, because I'm already burnt out. I mean, you know how you feel at the end of January,
Yep.
right? Imagine going for another month after that and hunting snow geese, mind you, in the Arkansas mud, getting your ass kicked. About, if we go hunt 7 days a week, get your butt kicked 2-3 times at least, have fair to middling shoots a couple times and some really good ones the other times. It's just, I don't know, but it's been the conservation order in Arkansas has become such a cash cow for so many guys, okay, that I don't know what happens. But I do know this. I just want what's best for the goose. The money be damned. If the counts come back, and if, like some of these states have said, or some of these counts have come back and said that the snow goose populations have evened out or maybe kind of turned and went on the decline. Well, isn't that what the conservation order was for? I mean, it was never supposed to be a forever thing. Mm-hmm. It was just supposed to be something that got signed in when Clinton did it in 99. Okay. And it was just to save the tundra. Okay. And to knock those snows back a little bit, but I don't know what's going to happen to it. I don't.
I have mixed emotions. My mixed part is I feel sorry for a lot of friends of mine that make that do snow goose hunts in the spring that make a living.
Well, in those towns.
Yeah.
And I hate to see those people get that rug pulled out from under them.
Yeah.
On the flip side, I don't know if it's making a difference one way or the other. If it doesn't make a difference one way or the other, I don't see what the big deal is. But if the numbers have stabilized and the tundra's coming up, I think that the less pressure on the snow goose. I used to be at the mindset that the snow goose has got too much pressure on it, but then I talked to guys that hunt in Canada and shoot them in late April and May, and they said they're dumb as hell again by then already. So
because that snow goose has changed, though. Anybody that has hunted up there, and I have not, okay, but I've talked to plenty that have hunted what we call the summer snow goose season in April and May or whatever. But even talking to some of my contacts in North and South Dakota, the way that they describe it to me, Jeff, is that those snow geese, it almost turns into like the snow goose rut. Okay, you don't see the snows like the snow goose that I'm hunting in Arkansas that comes out in these massive waves and all together really high. Just like what they were on the Texas coast when I was growing up hunting them. Those geese up there in April and May, man, they're coming out in much smaller groups. They shoot a lot of singles, pairs, small bunches, okay? Those birds, they fly lower as a rule, and I don't know if that's more from a pressure thing or not, but those birds are just putting on the brakes to fatten up before they got to cross over the Boreal and then go to the tundra where their food sources are much, much more limited.
Mm-hmm. And it's like the rut almost.
Yeah, that's the way it's always been described to me, because they already have, obviously geese mate for life or whatever, so they have their pair bond, and they're just sitting there fattening up, getting ready to go do their deal. And see, another thing about that conservation order is all these big-time shoots that happen, all these 100 plus, 200, whatever. And I'm talking about stuff over the decoys, not them guys pigging down a ditch and coming up over the other side, all right? But for these big shoots that happen over decoys, most of them birds that are getting whacked, those are babies. Mm-hmm. Those are young of the year geese. And those snow geese, they can't breed anyway. They're not sexually mature until they're 3 years old. So what good are we really doing to knock that breeding population back? In my opinion, we're really not doing a damn thing for it.
Right, you're making the breeding population smarter by shooting at them all the time.
We're turning into a super goose, man. Them guys north of the border, and hey, I'm one of them. I mean, starting on September 1st in Canada, you can throw a jukebox at that damn bird. Mm-hmm. Start using an electronic caller right out of the gate. And there's guys hunting them in May, and then I know there's, like some of the natives or whatever, in far North Canada. They're shooting those geese into June, and then they're doing it really early and for a long time, man. They don't get any rest.
Yeah, that's the flip side, or the other side of that deal would be to let them have some rest and some continuation of some peace for 6 months, like every other waterfowl does. The Texas conservation season is. I'm probably gonna piss off a few people down on the coast. Didn't really make a hill of beans to most people because those geese are gone. It's not like it was 20 years ago. Mm-hmm. They're not. This ain't Larry Gore in 1980. I mean, they just don't have the birds down there no more. So it really isn't going to make any kind of long-term impact. They shut it down in Arkansas in February. That's going to be a big impact on the amount of birds killed and how many hunters are doing it. And that's probably going to be the next state that's going to fall. Probably, I think they're getting a lot of pressure probably from the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service on that. And I wouldn't be surprised if they do away with it for 2 years and do a study, and maybe it'll come back again. I don't think we're going to see the end of it forever, but I think you're going to see a pause for a couple of years, maybe a 2 to 5 year pause on it nationwide, and then it'll come back in, and if they need to, and it may be one of them deals where they go by like the pintail numbers. 1 year you can shoot 1 or 3 or 0. It's going to depend on the numbers each year, and it's probably going to get that way on the snow goose counts. But I don't think it's good to keep shooting, like you said. You keep shooting the young birds, fuck, you can't. You're not going to shoot those old mature birds. They're too damn smart.
The breeding population.
Yeah. I got a couple things on this conservation order, just some food for thought, if you will, and then I'll get off my damn soapbox. But as far as the Texas thing goes, there are generations and generations of snow geese that have no idea where the hell Texas is. Never been there. They've been going to, in Louisiana, by and large, doesn't really have them like they used to either. Crawfish and sugarcane killed that place. They're going to Arkansas. More rice is grown there than anywhere else in the U.S., maybe in the world, I don't know, but in the U.S. for sure. So that's where they go. These birds follow the rice. They follow the habitat, what they want. And so that's why, and they pulled the plug in Texas because they're trying to keep those birds there. I believe that is one of the things to help that imprinting, that these birds are so big on back off on that pressure a little bit. I get it. But here's the thing. If the habitat keeps diminishing in Texas, rice production goes down, lack of water availability, duck hunters shooting goose roosts, yada, yada, that bird is going to adapt. And all of these Arctic geese especially, they're so damn nomadic, they'll pick up and fly somewhere else at the drop of a hat just because. That goose anyway, if they're holding the conservation order or not, is still going to shift until they find the place that they want to put their feet down, that they're comfortable in, they got the right food source and water. And one more thing, okay? The conservation order, what it has done to snow geese and people's mindset of snow geese, it has turned the snow goose, which in my opinion is the most difficult of all waterfowl to consistently kill over decoys, okay? Some of these snow geese I hunt, I swear to God, they're smarter than some of the folks I know walking around, all right? But it has taken that goose that can be so difficult, that is a prize to hunt and shoot successfully over decoys. I mean, it takes some doing. And it has made people turn them into a feral hog in their mind, okay? And it all comes with this no limit, take your plug out, let's shoot, everybody can shoot 10, 15, 20 times into a flock, sail birds from here to Christmas. I mean, that part and I'm not saying everybody, but there are people out there with this mindset that the snow goose is trash. And that's the furthest thing from the truth. And I think the conservation order had everything to do with that, with people thinking of snow geese that way.
No, I think you're 100% right. Yeah, you take off the gloves on how you can kill these things, and like you said, you're taking one of the most difficult animals waterfowl wise that there is to shoot, and you've diminished its reputation. It's just this trash goose now.
Andy, I would like to see, and I know them boys up there in the Dakotas, okay, when all them juvies come across the international line and they stack up in them cornfields before they fly south, I know they beat the brakes out of them in North and South Dakota. But I would like to see these guys hunt these snow geese with no jukebox.
Yeah.
Okay. And come off of that crutch. And the guys that are doing that consistently, those dudes are real killers, man. And there ain't many.
Right. Yeah, they just turn on a switch and they've got 5 of these loud speakers going on. And
don't get me wrong, that jukebox, it ain't a magic wand.
No.
It ain't you flip your old Fox Pro on and they come on in there. You know, I mean, it's a tool to use, but it definitely helps.
It's a crutch.
Yeah, I was shocked last year
100%.
when we went up there and we were shooting them last year with it the first day. Well, that was the first place because in Quill Lake, we hunted over it, and I kept thinking, I hear some geese coming, and Andy was like, "That's the speaker." I'm like, I didn't know you could use that in the fall, you know, and I didn't, and that does not help those birds for later on down the road.
No, and the sounds, Jeff, that these guys are using now, man, this ain't your Johnny Stewart cassette tape stuff no longer, dude. I mean, these sounds are for real.
It's like being a Van Halen concert.
They're good stuff.
Yeah. I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see what they do. I don't know. Jeff says Arkansas is going to be next. I think Arkansas and Missouri will be the last places that do away with the conservation order, just because it's so good for the local economy.
I don't think
gas stations, restaurants, hotels.
Well, Arkansas's got Governor Huckabee, or Sanders, I think's her name now, and she's a conservative, and she cares about the economy a lot and her people, so it may stick around a little bit longer. Missouri, I don't know. They're borderline red and blue sometimes. It's going to come down to your governor. Kristi Noem in South Dakota is hunter friendly, so she probably is not in a big hurry. But I think the federal government's going to put more pressure on her to try to get rid of this.
She's not puppy dog friendly though, so you got to watch out for her.
She's not that for sure.
Did you see that? Did you see that article?
I don't know all the particulars on that deal, but I heard something along the way. She shot a dog or something, or am I wrong?
Yeah, she shot it. She had a young dog. I don't know how. I'm probably going to butcher some of the details, but the gist of it is, took the dog hunting. It did not perform well. It was an untrained dog, from my recollection. And then when she got it back to like camp or a friend of hers farm or whatever, it ate a chicken. So she's like, "To hell with this!" Took it behind the woodshed and shot it.
I don't know why you would tell nobody that.
I don't know.
First
that's the thing. Like, if it happened, like, I understand, you know, there's aspects of dog training. You're not condoning this. There's aspects of dog training that, you know, to the untrained eye are unsavory to look at. Force fetching being one of them, collar conditioning, whatever it is. But and maybe she had like an old school dad that's like, fuck it, if it's just going to be good for eating food up, you know, get rid of it. I understand there's some archaic beliefs around puppy dogs, but don't put that in your autobiography if you're trying to win elections. You know what I mean? Don't be
I was about to ask you, did like somebody from her past out her? She wrote it down in a book?
She put it down in her book, talked about it in her book. So like it's one thing to do it. It's another thing to put that as part of her formative years of
tone deaf,
her career.
Tone deaf, stupid. I don't know why. The mindset 50 years ago when I was a kid growing up was, I've never witnessed anyone do this, but I've heard of this happening before. You used to be able to buy a damn bird dog for $200, and an old boy would be like, "Screw that shit! It's gonna cost me more than $200 to feed him for 6 months. I'll just get rid of him." And so, and that happened a lot.
Well, and like even Ron, before the collars came out, they talk about getting birds shot and they'd shoot dogs in the ass or whatever for, and the way you gauged on how far to shoot your dog is you'd have your old lady wear a rain slicker and walk out 30 yards. And if it didn't penetrate the rain slicker, well, that was the range that you could shoot your dog at. So like, I get that we've come a long way in how we treat our dogs.
I mean, from all the dog training stuff, just because I'm so deep into it anymore, they, guys would, shoot dogs with bird shot to force that back, you know. They would use slingshots, were very common. People would hide in bushes and hit dogs with sticks to keep them going. It was some barbaric stuff, and thank God we got that behind us.
My dad was as good with a slingshot as anybody I knew. He could hit a fucking dog running away. He could shoot a bird out of a tree. I mean, he was damn good with the slingshot.
But collars weren't reliable back then.
No,
the dog would just have that breakdown area, and it's like, all right, how do I figure this out? So guys being rednecks and ingenuity, it's like, oh, let's get a slingshot after its ass.
They figured it out for him. That's right.
My dad had a friend, and he had two stories. One story was the guy put his wife in a raincoat and made her get out 50 yards and turn her back to him, and he shot at her.
How bad it hurts.
Shot her with a shotgun with like eight shot, and if it penetrated and hurt her skin, he knew that it was still he couldn't shoot the dog, but if it was closer than that he could shoot him. So he'd have his wife walk out. Well, after she got shot with a rain slicker and peppered up a few times, they got him a new electric collar, and it was an old one, had this big antenna and shit on it, and he put it around his neck, and he walked out like 50 yards, and he goes, shock me, and if I raised my hand, when I raised my hand, stop.
Let it go.
And so she shocked him. He raised his hand and let it go. So he walked out another 20 yards, and he did it, and it got jammed up, and he's holding his hand up screaming, and she's shocking. There's somebody should just drilling his ass.
No, he grabbed the collar because it hurt so bad. He grabs the collar like this, and he's fucking welded to it, and he can't raise his hand. And Ron was standing there, and Ron's like, get off the button. She's like, no, he said not to let it go unless he raises his hand. I'm not letting go. But he's fucking doing this and just getting welded to this shock collar. And finally Ron's like, give me that goddamn remote. So he takes it from her, and he's collapses to the ground. But that was the early introduction into shock collars. We've come such a long way with gear and everything.
Yeah, a long way.
It shocks me.
Thank God.
And the old choke collars, I wonder if they still use choke collars when they're force fetching a dog nowadays. The one, not the choke.
Yeah, man, there's still choke change, Jeff, and pinch collars.
That's what I'm talking about. It's got the big metal claps and all them. Yeah.
That looks like
they got them old prongs on them.
That looks like they do that for healing, don't they? Isn't that what they do? They pull up on it?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Most of your force fetching now, guys, are pinching ear, or a lot of it's done with just the shock collar. There's still some guys doing the toe thing, but even the toe thing is kind of starting to ride off into the sunset.
I'll tell you another thing, that old collar, and this is a story. Me, Tony, and my dad Dad went training dogs. Me and Tony went with him, and Tony was probably in 6th grade, and Tony took Dad's shock collar and he stuck it under the seat of Dad's truck, where it was right where the seat would meet. There's that, the old trucks there'd be a seam down there, the bottom where that would flip up. And he put that collar where those two prongs would be on Dad's ass. And it'd been raining and stuff. And Dad sat down, we're driving down the road. And Tony's giggling and laughing. And he showed me what he did. And we're driving down the road, and Tony kind of nudges me, and he shocks my dad with that collar. He has the deal, and he pushes it, and Dad jumps up. God damn, fucking spring in my damn seat just come out or something. And he's jumping around. He sits back down, and Tony hits him again, and he's jumping. God damn. He did it about 4 times in a row. Dad, so teeth are gritted. His whole freaking face is red. He's pissed. And he gets out, and he's like looking around, and like, oh, you little son of a bitch, and sees that collar right there. So about 3 days later, my parents are divorced. We go to my dad's house, and Dad goes, I got Tony's ass back. He told Tony, he said, go out there and get that puppy loaded up. We'll take that puppy and throw it some bumpers. Tony said, okay. Dad had wired his fucking kennel up with the hot wire.
Oh, Jesus.
Tony went and opened that gate. And when he opened that gate, Dad fucking said, watch this shit. And all of a sudden, Tony bounced across the fucking road, the yard where that hot wire got him.
CPS would be all over his ass today.
Yeah. Dad just thought that was just funny as shit. But Tony bounced his ass off. But God, my dad with that electric collar, he thought the damn spring in the truck seat was out. Oh, it was funny as hell.
Cheap entertainment.
Yep. But collars have come a long, long way from back in the original day. The old Tritronics before they got going.
So what made you get a new puppy?
I won another bullet in the field trial game, man.
Really?
I am gut hooked on that stuff. Yeah, Amber and I actually went up to Minnesota for a little over a month and trained, and I had a injury this summer in the gym. I tore my pec, or I would have gone up there much sooner. Yeah, I don't recommend doing what I did, tearing your
pec. 38?
Yeah. I still get in the gym in the off season, run a little bit just from a functionality standpoint, just so my guiding shelf life is a little bit longer. Yeah. I can get a little bit deeper into my career and still get out there in the field. And, man, I'm big on stretching, warm-up sets and everything, and going slow and steady in my movements. And, dude, it popped. It went. Have you ever been stung by a jellyfish?
No, I have not.
Okay. Well, it felt like warm, hot jellyfish tentacles coming from my shoulder up here and running down into my chest. And dude, I had a lump in the middle of my left chest about the size of a baseball. And when they cut me open in surgery, the surgeon after I come to, you know, he told me, he was like, dude, you look like a fruit roll up in there.
Really?
And they just unrolled me. Yeah. And put 3 screws in right here because it ripped completely off of that bone. And then they had to do a little bit of sewing right there where it just come off the tendon. And yeah, so that was 4 weeks ago today. I had surgery.
No shit.
I actually flew from Minnesota down here to have it done.
What's the rehabilitation process been like?
So just going to PT a couple times a week. I do stuff at the house every day. But the guiding deal, as far as like, you know, moving gear around, blinds, decoys, what have you, with one arm might be a little difficult. So thankfully I got some young, strong hands to help me out at both places. But man, it looks like really, Andy, not until January, February-ish. And they told me like a full calendar year until I'm remotely back to my same strength again on that side.
What were you doing? Bench pressing?
Barbell bench, something I've done a million times.
How much weight did you have on it?
Not much. I don't lift heavy anymore. I was doing, you know, and I was in my 3rd work set. I had 225 on.
That's a lot.
And I was doing.
That's a lot of weight.
That's all relative, okay? Right. You got to remember. I mean, I lived in a weight room when I was at A&M in high school. Blah blah blah. Whatever. All relative. I ain't nowhere where I used to.
What'd you used to bench when you played football? What was the most?
So my senior year at A&M, we did not do any maxing. We had a coaching change. That's when Mike Sherman came in to A&M. So we did not bench we didn't do any maxes my senior year. But my junior year, I did 415 bench. I squatted 600. I hang clean 395. I had a 33-inch vertical jump, and that's all. I mean, and I was.
You're an athlete.
That was me at like 310, 315-ish. Yeah.
What are you now? 240?
Well, since my gym and running time was cut with me blowing up my tit here, I'm about 255, if not 260 right now. I'm a little on the fat side of things. But yeah, normally I'm about 240, 250, somewhere in there.
So you lost 60, 70 pounds since your playing days.
Oh, real quick. It was hard for me to keep that on when I was at A&M. I had to eat everything inside.
Did y'all have a little sawed off squatty fucker for a strength coach at A&M?
Gosh, man, no, Kennedy wasn't.
Because do you know the guy the guy at Texas, the black guy? He built like a damn fire plug. You ever seen him? And I'm assuming he must be really good at what he does because he's been there for about 3 different head coaches. Because I noticed the other day, and he even leads them out on the field sometimes. But he's that guy that's probably, he looks like he's 6'2" and weighs about 350, and he probably has 4% body fat. And I don't know how the hell you couldn't whip his ass because you couldn't hurt him and you couldn't get around him. Nothing to grab onto but solid muscle. But those guys are unreal how strong they are.
Oh yeah.
Well,
yeah, all my strength coaches, I had 3 different ones when I was at A&M, and they all looked apart. You know?
Yeah, they do. They all look just bulky. Yeah. You know, the guy that's what was the guy's name that played? Larry Allen that played for Dallas. He just died, right?
Yeah.
Didn't he bench press like 700 pounds?
I think so.
That's just absolutely
crazy. He was incredibly strong. There was like there's an old clip you can look up on YouTube or something. They're at like the Pro Bowl, and you know how they'll have players like do these little events or whatever. They put 225 on the bench for Larry Allen. He did it like 40-something times.
Yeah.
Incredible.
And they wonder why he dies young.
Yeah.
I mean, that body's not supposed to do that. I mean, you're just really not.
So were you taking any enhancements during your college days?
Just no. Okay.
No
but
needle?
It's funny that you asked me that. So the first time I went in to have this deal looked at, it was with the surgeon's assistant, okay? And literally, he sat down. I hadn't even taken my shirt off yet for him to look at this deal. And he was like, do you do steroids? I was like, No, I don't do steroids. I've never done them. I've been around it. I've seen it. It was easy to get once upon a time where it was, but never did any of that stuff. And he was like, "Oh, okay. I just need to ask because most of the time when we see this injury right here, it's from a steroid user.
Pushing too much weight.
Yeah, that's right.
But you never did.
Yeah.
You know, you just didn't need that competitive edge.
No, dude. I never did it. There was plenty of guys on the team that did. Andy, you could tell too, buddy. Like, there was a certain time. So you would get drug tested 3 different ways. A&M was going to test you every year during training camp. Okay, in August. The Big 12 was going to test you sometime during football season. You never knew when. But the NCAA, which I only had to piss for them one time, and it was completely random. You never knew when you were going to get it. But, the Big 12 and A&M, A&M was fall camp, Big 12 was during football season, so you knew. So, dude, them guys that were on the sauce, they would get on it about springtime and take it all summer, dude. They show up to fall camp all rocked up and everything. Mm-hmm. And then, dude, you would just see them guys deflate right in front of your eyes.
Right.
During the season.
Because they were worried about failing a piss test.
Well, yeah, they weren't on the juice no more. They were coming off of it. The only weight they had on them was water. You could tell.
Yeah.
I don't
sure.
think they should steroid test in pro football, any pro sport. If you want to I want to see the best gladiator out there. If they want to do that shit, let them do it. I don't care.
Yeah, but that goes back to player safety, though.
Well, and I also think that we are seeing the dying days of the NCAA, especially with football. I think in the next 10 years, the NCAA will be completely out of the football business in Division I schools.
Well, I wouldn't cry about it if the NCAA died. Dude.
Why don't the universities kick them out? There's no reason to have them as the governing body, especially now that we're coming into these super conferences.
I was about to say, that was the point I was about to make. Why don't the conferences just govern themselves, and that's it, dude? You don't need the NCAA for anything.
And they do that already. The Pac-12, the Big 12, the SEC, the Big 10, they've got their own commissioners. Let them run their fucking program. We're here to watch college football. If the NCAA wants to govern synchronized swimming, knock themselves out. I don't care anyways. But football, eventually these universities are going to say, all we're doing is giving the NCAA a shitload of money because football is where it's at.
What was the selling point back in the day for the organization of the NCAA?
There was no TV contracts. There was no money. It was just a governing body. When the NCAA first started, and I don't have a clue, I'm going to bet you it was probably in the 40s or 50s, and there was no football contracts. Everybody had radio contracts. There wasn't a lot of money in it. You could listen to Chip Kern or whatever his name was do Southwest Conference football games for 40 years. There was no money. So they had someone just to kind of govern everything, to have the rules to keep everybody on a fair sheet. Well, when you got TV and you got big money into it, them universities, the NCAA is getting a big chunk of that money, and they don't do nothing at all. And I'm surprised that I'm surprised the university haven't got together and said, you know what, we're done giving them a bunch of money.
I would be.
There's, like you said, they can take care of themselves.
Yeah. Yeah. Especially the bigger universities and all these power conferences, they got the money. I don't know why they don't fight them. They're going to have to go to court forever. I don't know.
It's coming down the road, though.
Would hurt my feelings.
That's why the NCAA's giving in on these championship games and the more playoffs and stuff, because they've got to start giving back more or they're going to get the rug pulled out from under them, and they should. There's no reason for them. It's like the UIL in the state of Texas. Sometimes the stupid shit that they do, it makes you wonder. Like, one of my biggest beefs I have with the UIL is I don't think if you go, I think if you are going to a private school, you should not compete against public schools for state titles. These basketball charter programs they have, they've got 10 kids on a team. All 10 of them are going to a Division I school. You can go to Duncanville, which arguably is the best high school in the state of Texas for
they're incredible.
All the sports they do. And they don't have 10 kids in their basketball program that are going to Division I schools. But they're going to play Mom's Academy over here that's got 47 kids enrolled, and 10 of them are Division I basketball players, and 2 kids are going to Duke. They shouldn't be playing.
Now, Jeff, will they see those guys, do private and public schools play each other like in the playoffs and stuff, or does a private school have their own division?
They used to have their own divisions. Now they're letting them compete against in the UIL. So,
Really?
8 or 10 years ago, Stanford, Texas won state in football, went to the state tournament in basketball, and got beat in the state championship in baseball. Class A school, 140 kids, or 180, 200 kids maybe. Great program, worked their ass off. They would have probably won state in basketball, but they had to play one of them academy schools that this was Class A basketball that had 3 or 4 kids going to play Division I basketball. That right there was a pick and choose deal, and they just stuck them in Class A. Well, they only have Class A numbers. They play Class A. The 2 years later, they made them start playing in the 3A and 4A deal because it wasn't fair. But they shouldn't be playing at all. If they're not a public school and have to go by all the rules, the testing, and everything else that a public school has, you shouldn't be at an academy and get a play. Andy's on school board. Are they letting homeschool kids play now in football too?
I don't know. So that was something that we have a family here that homeschools their kids, and I was talking to the dad about my oldest playing tackle football, and he said his kids were wanting to play football at some point, and he pulled up an article, and I think it said that the UIL will allow homeschool kids to play. I'd have to do my own research on that, but
Really?
it was just a quick little Google shot of I can do it right now. But yeah, I don't know about if homeschool kids can play. Homeschool kids play sports? In 2021, after a 20-plus year fight, the Texas legislature finally granted school districts the ability to approve access for homeschool students into the UIL extracurricular activities. So it acts like, yeah, you can.
Really? Huh. I did not know that.
2021, whether homeschool kids. That would be including varsity athletics. Homeschool kids must participate in all required activities for the sport, including practice, workouts, and meetings. Huh. Because that was kind of the reason that you went to school back in the, you know what I mean? Like that was the perk of being in public ed or whatever, is you got to play sports.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah, that was a big deal. I never played with anybody. Is that a new thing? What year did you say that was?
2021.
Okay.
Post-COVID. But evidently it's been going on since the early 2000s. They've been trying to get this done. After a 20-plus year fight, they finally let them do it. Huh. I don't know. Then, I don't know. Fuck, I can't keep track of everything that's changing right now.
Are there a bunch of people homeschooling around y'all?
Not really. No, there's a couple families that do it. Not really. We got a pretty good school here. You know, it's West Texas. You know what I mean? Like we're kind of removed from all the crazy shit that you see in the big city. You know, boys using girls' bathrooms and stuff like that. But I don't know. I mean, you got the governing body, so you kind of got to go by whatever they say. So they kind of got you over a barrel there. But I don't know. We got a good school, and I don't have any reservations about sending my kids there. So
Good.
It's good.
How long you been on the school board?
4 or 5 years. Had somebody step down, and that's the thing about it, man. I've won re-election, I think twice, and I've ran unopposed both times. Nobody wants the job. I've won by default. Just nobody shows up.
Y'all ever have those deals where like the parents come out? What do they call those?
Where they come to the meetings?
Yeah.
We haven't had that yet. We've since I
was going to ask you if it ever got heated in there.
We've had a pretty peaceful. I've had a pretty peaceful tenure on school board. There's no major scandals. Knock on wood. But yeah, I'm sure if I stay on there long enough, there's going to be some big blow up. But you got to kind of keep it peaceful, and parents are blinded by love a lot of times, if that makes sense. Little Johnny's never in the wrong, so.
Yeah, their kid's the best, right?
That's right. Little Johnny would never do that. Grab a girl in the...
No, what are you talking about? My little angel? That saint I have at home? No, not him.
Pinched a girl in the ass
No
as she
way.
was walking down the hallway? What? Snapped her bra strap? That's not him. Never. I raised him better. Boys are boys, man. So, back to your dog. Just wanted a nut your hook, line, and sinker into this field trial?
So let me tell you. So Doc, right? I guess last time I was on here with y'all, Doc had just kind of come out of derbies, and he was pretty successful in that. Well, then this spring I get back and we started running qualifiers, and Doc won back-to-back quals. He won one at the very end of March, the last weekend of March, and then we won another one that was like a 40-something dog qual the first weekend of April up at the Russell's property outside of Gainesville, Texas. And at that point, I had a decision to make. The last dog I hunted over was qualified all age as well, just like Doc was, and at that time I was like a broke kid, not long out of college, dude. I could barely afford what I had done with Sam anyway, and so I pulled him. He hunted with me, fine dog out in the field, all that stuff, and enjoyed it. But I always, because I'm competitive, right? I mean, it's in me. You can't help it, and in the back of my mind, though, I still wanted to pursue this field trial stuff a little bit more and get into the all age game a little bit. And so with Doc, after he did that, I made a decision to move him to another trainer. So Christian Alt at Steadfast Retrievers, he did Doc's young dog training. And then after Doc won that second qualifier back in April, I moved Doc to Dave and Ty Roram, which they've been in the game for a long, long time. And yeah, man, so gonna try out this all age stuff a little bit. So getting back to the puppy, I want another bull in the game. Because let me tell you something, man. I don't know if you've ever been to a field trial, but they're pretty damn boring. Okay,
Amen.
When you only have one dog, and you're like in a state that has 40, 50, 60 plus dogs in it, dude, you're sitting there twiddling your thumbs for a long time. Right. Okay, so bought another pup to try. Hopefully he pans out. That's a big if now. I mean, you can't really tell much at 9 weeks old. I even had pick of the litter, and there were 8 of them. And I mean, what do you do?
That'd have been way too much pressure for me.
I just closed my eyes and did eeny, meeny, miny, mo, and grabbed one. I mean, what are you going to do? And so, yeah, it's, it comes out of a good breeding. I picked one, and we'll see how it works out.
Yeah. I've got, I lost my dog 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. So yeah, I've got some decisions to make here.
That's a tough deal, brother. That's a tough deal, man.
I'm not going to get a new dog. I'm not going to get a puppy this year, or not this waterfowl season, just because I want to be able to devote time to it. So that's going to be a February or March thing. My kids are 9 and 6, so they need a puppy one time in their life. So that'll be an after hunting season thing. So probably looking at the started dog route for this year, or just hunt with a young kid. And hey, you're the bird bitch. Go have fun.
I was about to say, man, just hire you some old high school kid or something to come out there and go fetch some birds up.
Yeah. So
that. Their nose ain't worth a damn, but I bet they take real nice casts and everything. They'd probably be all right.
I think you're giving too much credit to these kids today growing up. I think you're better off the dog.
Yeah.
I'm thinking Christmas time, I'm going to buy the boys both a puppy. That way y'all can have 2 at once.
What?
Oh, there you go. God.
No.
If one puppy wasn't a big enough pain in the ass.
My dog that passed away, it was perfect. He was born at Christmas, and I took him home first part of February. No. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. End of January, you got him.
He was 7 weeks. So no, that's not right. He would have been born first part of December. I'm trying to think of his birthday was December 11th.
Yeah, you got him at the end of season.
And I took him home like first week of February. That was perfect. Born in December, home in February. We trained all off season, and he was ready to rock and roll in November at 10 or 11 months.
Andy, the dog that you just lost, how old was he?
He was 10. And it came unexpectedly. Yeah, we were at Delta, and it was Friday. It was Friday morning, first day. I was just kind of making the round saying hello to everybody. Jeff called me, and he said, hey, where are you at? And told him where I was, and we met up. And we have a young kid working out here. It's his first year. He's from Louisiana. He just graduated high school. This was his first job. Keep the dogs alive until we get back.
That's what I told him.
And dropped Lou off Thursday, right?
Yep.
Yeah, Thursday.
Thursday morning
and Friday morning, he laid down in the office here and took one big breath and closed his eyes, and that was it. So I don't know if he had a heart attack. I don't know if he had a stroke.
That's what I was going to ask. The dog was never struggling with anything before, never had cancer,
No.
like there wasn't something going on. Wow.
Lived a great life, just
Nothing.
fell over.
I never saw, I mean, the last couple of months, I noticed he kind of grunt a little bit whenever he laid down, but I was like, oh, I mean, he's 10. He's hunted 6-7 days a week his entire life.
Man, those Labradors, man, you hit that 10-year mark, dude, and every day after their 10th birthday is just a blessing because that's kind of.
Yep. I felt that.
I mean, it's, some of them make it till they're 14, 15, but a lot of them, man, that 10, 11-year mark, it's kind of.
We had that conversation with Andy a bunch about it, but the difference between Lou and a lot of older dogs, and I've been around dogs my whole life, a lot of really good dogs.
Mm-hmm.
Lou never slowed down.
Uh-uh.
He acted like he was 18 months old still when he was 10. I'd go when they go out of town, I would air him and go to the house and stuff. And he would jump at me and play and stuff. He acted the same as he did when he was 3 or 4. And Andy knew this. We talked about this, and I kept saying, when are you going to get another dog? And Andy had the best answer ever, and it was, if I get a dog now, preparing for Lou to be gone, it's not fair for that young puppy to not get a hunt. And he says, it's not fair for Lou to have to stay home and me take a young puppy.
Take away a hunt
Yeah.
from him. That I had the same mindset, Andy, whenever Sam was getting, 9, 10 years old, and Sam dealt with some arthritis stuff in his back end, and he would get stove up. It didn't matter if it was a big hunt or not. Sometimes the field conditions, especially in Arkansas, just be rough on a dog, man, with the mud or whatever. And so I would rest the dog a lot. People would ask me, hey, you going to get another one to help Sam out? And my mindset was, I don't want to take the hunt away from Sam.
Right.
So no, I'm not going to do it.
Yeah, I didn't feel like I could be fair to either one of them because I've got, I got this young puppy and I want him to be all that he can be. And I've got this old dog that I poured my heart and soul into training him. And I want him to enjoy the last couple hunts that he can have, however it's going to be. But you're right. Like I remember when he turned 10 and he might as well have been dead then to me. You know what I mean? It's just like, this big weight all of a sudden came on my shoulders. I'm like, fuck, he's 10 now. And I started really in January, I really enjoyed seeing him work and I enjoyed him a lot more. He's like Jeff said, he's a pain in the ass at the house. Like he's always into shit. Eating food that he knows he shouldn't eat. Boys leave a sandwich on the counter and he's getting it. And, but I feel like, I knew we were on borrowed time just because that 10-year mark hit and I don't know. I feel robbed out of a season because we were so close and he died. So part of me feels like, fuck, man. Like if we could have, maybe he would have had something to live for if we could have just got to hunting season. You know what I mean? Because off season, it's so long on a dog. They live 7 times faster than we do. So 1 month to us is 7 months to them. And I don't know. You play that what if game a little bit. Like if we could have just made it another month and got to hunting season.
That dog had a great life, retrieved a ton of birds and stuff.
Oh.
Dogs do not live long enough. And
no,
they get so much better after they die.
Oh yeah.
He's going to be the best thing. He could walk on fucking water in 6 months. I mean, it's just the way it is. They're like people, dogs and people. Sorry, some bitch in the world can die, and you go to his funeral, and there's a bunch of damn liars talking about how great a guy was.
People are sprinkling flowers all over his casket. Yep, you're right, dude. You are right.
But we got his ashes back. We're gonna put him in.
You doing anything with him?
We're gonna have Corey Lucas. I need to finalize the plans, but have a decoy made and a bumper made. Put some ashes in it for the lodge and the house, and then send his ashes up to Boss. Shot shells. They'll put them in some shotgun shells and pass them out to people or shoot them or whatever.
We got a death row here.
We do, yeah.
Everybody that dies that's worked out here, we've got their ashes, and it's put in either a decoy or. Michelle had a cool idea. We're gonna do a bumper with Lou wrote on it. It's gonna have a dog duck bumper, a wooden one, and put his ashes in that. And nobody else has got one like that, and it'll be pretty cool. Lou is a very special dog. I've been around a lot of dogs in my life, and there's been about 3 special dogs in my life that really, and Lou was one of them. Mm-hmm. And I think
well, it's always the good ones you remember the most, you know. Yeah, that's
well,
cool.
And he had personality too. That's what set him apart.
Yeah, they're a family member.
Yeah.
I cried as much when Lou died as I did when Beavis died, our last dog, and Missy, the 2 dogs. I mean, Lou's the 3rd dog in my life that really meant a lot to me. And now I've got this old worthless ass Labradoodle, Ollie, that I love to death. And then my wife got another one, and I love both of those dogs like crazy. And I used to never understand these people. It's just a dog. I mean, he gets old, put him to sleep, get you another one. Because I'd always been around dogs. They were just a working dog. They were never a pet. It was just I don't even know what it was a tool. And then when you get a dog, you become attached to, you see it. But there's an old lady that's got a poodle out there that she's really attached to, or some shit dog. But the bond that a working person has with a working dog, whether it be a healer, a retriever, a pointing dog, a flesh dog, a cop with a drug dog, people don't understand.
Your business partner.
They do not understand, and it's hard to explain that to Aunt Sadie that's got that Chihuahua she's had for 18 freaking years old. But it's just a different bond. And I'm not taking away that she don't love her dog, 'cause she does. It's just a completely different bond to working dogs and their people. An old cowboy that's got a healer that rides in the back of his truck that everybody's like, I can't believe that dog rides in the back of that truck all over. They don't understand that bond between that dog and that cowboy.
Yeah.
It's just,
when you rely on that animal for your day to day, man, there's that deeper connection there. And the only people that will understand that are the people that have that.
Yeah.
That's it.
And hunters like hunting over a good dog.
yes.
Oh God, yes.
You know,
it enhances the experience, dude. I mean, let's face it. When you mature in this game a little bit, all that slapping the trigger stuff, that really diminishes. You know, and it's such a small part of the overall experience. You know, the decoying birds as close as you can get one, and then watching a good dog go out and do his thing. To me, those are my two most favorite parts of the hunt.
Yeah.
Those two things right there.
Yeah, getting that bird that sailed out there however many hundreds of yards, and the guys are like, there's no way that fucking dog's going to make it. And then it does it.
That's going to be the hardest thing Andy's going to deal with all year long, too. And it was the same thing after my dad died. People that did not know, where's Ron at?
Right.
Here, I'll show you where he's at. He's in this decoy right here. He's right inside here.
He's in the shotgun shell. You want to shoot him?
And I even had guys like a year or two later would call up and they'd say, I'm not going to be rude, but how's your dad? Oh, he passed away a couple of years. I didn't know. Andy's going to deal with that this year. Where's Lou at? We hunting with Lou again? And it's going to happen quite frequently. And Andy's he didn't make it through the summer. But that's the hard part of this deal. But it happens, and that's the way it goes.
Yep.
Isn't it funny, dude? I used to tell people all the time that I thought a lot of my guests that came back and hunted with me year after year, they didn't come back because they like sharing time in the blind with me. They just like hunting over my dog is all.
Yeah.
There's a bond there.
That's exactly right. All right, Travis, my man, I know you've got a lot to get done. You're headed to Canada. Right? I mean, you're making that long journey today. So
pretty quick,
I appreciate all the time that you've given us today. It's always a lot of fun getting on here and talking to you. Safe travels and wear them out up there, my man.
Okay, buddy. I appreciate y'all having me on, Andy, Jeff. Thanks.
Hey, thank you. Be safe. Enjoy your trip. God bless you, and make Canada a better place.
Send some cold weather.
We're going to try. I'll see you.
Bye. Great Travis Schneider.
Bye, bub.
You're a good guy. All right. I'm going to go check on the remodel job real quick.
Fun.
Yep. They've done a good job and almost done.
8 episodes are up on our YouTube channel, First Family of Waterfowl. Be sure to check that out. The last drop will be September 3rd, the final 4 episodes. And at that time, we will be full go.
Yep. Dove season is 3 weeks away, I believe. What's today?
It's
2 weeks away.
15th.
Yeah, it's 2 weeks away. 2 weeks from Saturday, we'll start having guests here. So being prepared.
Love you. Bye. Watch for deer.
Bye.
Check out all of our sponsors. Go check out Dirty Duck Coffee, Shin Gear, Dive Bomb Industries, Pacific Calls. Use our promo code BHP25, Boss Shot Shells, MLR Graphics, Shin Gear, Lucky Duck, Looking Glass Podcast, Mallard Bay, Mossberg, Double T British Kennels, Ducks Unlimited, Hemp Hill Farm, promo code BHP, Alpha Outdoors, and Stanfield Outfitters.